everybody, and welcome here today. And we are here today with one of the genuine legends of the industry here, Mr. John Durrant, of, as far as I know it, Waterfall, Durrant and Barclay, Dr. Photo, and now DCTR.
Yeah.
John, welcome. How are you today, sir?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much. And how are you, Simon?
All right, you know, I always get by.
I think
glass half full attitude used to help me out.
Nature's forces.
I'll take that. So I'm very good at taking insults and absorbing them as compliments. So thank you for that, John. I'm going to talk today. We wanted to tee this up because you're handing over the reins of the fantastically successful and doing a really positive professional job for many clients over the years, and handing over the reins to Tom, your son, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. It's Tom has really been running the show for the past 18 months, but now we've done it formally. And he's now taken on the mantle of managing director of Doctor, formerly Dr. Photo. And we're growing exponentially. And it's largely due to the work that he's done with the fantastic team that we've got working here.
Well, it had to all come from somewhere, and that's what we're talking about today. As much as forget about him. I know he's off screen, but we're gonna. Yeah. This is all about you today, John. And look, I heard that, and first of all, absolutely congratulations. You know, it's a wonderful business, and you know, dare I say, it could only be the business it was today because of obviously everything that you've put into it, and it's testament to that it's in such safe hands, of course, that you are able to hand that over to Tom. So first and foremost, can we just take it back to, you know, as they famously say, back to the beginning? Where did it all start for you in agency?
Well, I left school at 16, and 3 years I was stuffing envelopes at Manning Company. Back in those days, you weren't allowed to see anybody or speak to anybody. I was just kind of the back room boy,
yeah.
Stuffing envelopes with property details. So, but 20, I had my first office in Aldershot, and then went to various other offices. Went to Basingstoke. There was fairly hard times around Basingstoke. It was a period of when the country was going through some bad economic crises,
yeah,
and a lot of people got made redundant. Didn't, but I felt that probably time to move on, and then worked for. Well, in fact, no. What I did, I started my first estate agency. that's what I did, that didn't work out too well. But it was one of those experiences. It was about 3 years of running an estate agency. Really old car. Had to put up my own for sale boards,
yeah.
And didn't have a lot of fun doing that. And the money dried up, so I sold that business to somebody else. Went work for somebody else. Then got headhunted. Went to work in Woking. Bought that business from them, and then that got bought by the Pru. In 87,
yeah,
which they paid me quite a lot of money for, which I was very grateful. It was at a time when, again, the country was about to go into economic meltdown. That's what often happens with the estate agency is that things happen outside of your control. You have no way of controlling the economy. All you can do really is respond to it, so. I sold out to the Pru, worked for them for a few years. That was horrible. And then started up again with Andy Waterfall in Woking. So started our own business, reached the point where I wanted to kill people about 15 or 16 years ago. And then became a property photographer and started photographing for Knight Frank, etc. and Savills.
Yeah, so let's get right to the nub of that then. Where did the passion for photography? Have you always had that passion for photography? Did it goes years, or how did it burgeon?
I don't have a passion for photography at all. What I have a passion for is property marketing. For me, it was always about the house. It goes back to my second boss at Manning Company, who was a bit of a lunatic. A man called Hugh Winter. He's only recently dead, actually, but Manning Co didn't like him very much. And they decided to hold a debate between him and the latest star in the business, a guy called Alan Preston, I think it was, Alan Thompson. They'd sent him off to New Zealand to find out how property was sold there. Yeah. And so they held a debate at the Cottage Hotel in Woking. And there were about 30 or 40 of us at Manning Co. Then. There weren't that many, although it's a massive firm now, it's not that, no, it wasn't that big back then. And there was a debate, and Alan the debate was, should there be gimmicks in a estate agency? And Thompson got up and spoke for 20 minutes about why there shouldn't be gimmicks. We're a profession, etc., etc. And we don't get into gimmicks. They were all broke for a cup of tea. Went back to our desks, back to our seats, and we were talking to each other. And after a few minutes, it got really noisy, and then Hugh stood up and he took a plastic bag, took a hat out of a plastic bag, and it had an arrow through it. And we all stopped and looked at him in stunned silence. And he said, "There you are, I've got your attention with the gimmick. An estate agency is all about getting attention for the houses you're selling." Well, for me, that was an epiphany. It basically meant that everything I did from that day forward was about getting attention for the houses I was selling. And, you hear too often, I think, that estate agency is a people business, but of course people are involved, but the actual business is marketing property. And for me, photography was a way to show property at its best. And that's why, everything that I did from that day forward. We actually at Waterfalls, we sold houses for other estate agents. Directors of large estate agency companies come to us to ask us to sell their houses for them, and we would say, well, why don't you ask your own company to do it? And they said, well, I wouldn't want to, thank you very much. They actually used language which was a bit rougher than that, but it was they wanted us to market their own properties, and I took that as a very positive thing. Our property marketing was beyond anything that anybody else was doing back at those times.
I love that distinction between the property marketing though and the photography there. That does make total sense to me. Do I glean then from what you just said there? Do you get very frustrated that there are so many, I was going to say hucksters, that's probably be a bit fair, but there's so many solutions out there that promise you to do X, Y, Z to help move the home, where there isn't just the focus on the absolute core skill itself of that photography of the property, that marketing of the property itself.
I think it's the biggest trick that estate agents are missing. Although for the past 10 years, I've been evangelizing about, getting your properties noticed for the right reasons right from the beginning. If you can get your properties noticed for the right reasons, then you'll get much more interested in them. Rightmove had a blog out about 6 or 7 years ago that actually showed photographs of a property that was photographed badly and photographed well.
Yeah.
And they said that they were able to get 4 times the number of inquiries with the better photographs. It's actually really obvious, isn't it, that the better it looks in that beauty parade that we call Rightmove or Zoop or whatever, the more likely you are to attract interest in the property. If the houses above and below yours look rough and yours looks amazing, then you're going to get more interest in it. And that's really when I projected most of my interest in the business in the past and now is the reason for Dr. Photo, trying to make properties the star of the show rather than being ancillary to it and not dealing with estate agents just because they're personalities, but because they're actually really good at getting your house noticed by the right people.
What do you think? You mentioned there before that your colleague had gone to New Zealand, and of course New Zealand and Australia are, I didn't realise that it was as far back as then as well, but they're very well renowned, obviously, for marketing because of probably because of how much is vendor paid advertising over there, that it supports the professional. Why do you think it has been, though, that they seized on I suppose just doing the basics right?
I don't know. I think they just did. I'm talking about 53 years ago.
That's why I'm so surprised. I can sort of, I could understand how they might have sort of done it relatively recently, but it does surprise me that actually they've been doing it even as far back as then.
Yeah, they've been a good 10 years ahead of the UK property market all that time, and we've been slow to catch up. I think really in the UK, there were a number of years when it was like shooting fish in a barrel, selling property. You didn't actually have to try that hard to sell the property. I think what happened was that you just got on. If it's not broken, why fix it? Type of attitude, and I think that will catch up, or has been catching up, with a lot of estate agents who just got stuck in the mud and not actually moved forward. So it's one of the things that agents have to do. Really, I always try to stay at the cutting edge. At Waterfall Durrant, Barclay, now Waterfalls, always trying to stay at the cutting edge, and to make sure that we stood out from all the competition that was there.
What does best practice and worst practice look like to you in terms? What are some of the big wins you can get from photography, and what are the no-nos that you should avoid?
Well, there's a technical thing that estate agents can do straight off that would help to improve their photos. That's low ISO. Is a setting on your camera, and basically it's you think of it as a quality setting for your camera. If you use a high ISO, it will enable you to take photos with fast shutter speeds in dark situations, which sounds great until you realize that what you get out is rubbish, because it looks horrible. Because you've got these little specks, rather than nice tones, you have photographs that look out of focus and not at all interesting. Certainly not professional.
Thank you very much for taking your time today. As I said, it was I knew I had to get you on camera because we wanted to talk of this. It's always just great to hear someone's such passion for such a key area, and I absolutely can see that. I know that Tom's got the business in absolutely great hands, and I just want to congratulate you. And obviously, we will drink to your good health on Friday at a little soiree.
I don't know about the dancing. I think that might be a bit of
Well, I'm trying to find a kilt, so you've got to be careful there. Okay, John, I want to say thank you very much, and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks.